Welcome back in one of the Bear Trevor Plays YouTube channel. Today is Saturday, October 12th, and we've got a full slate of games to break down for the best weekend of college football we're probably going to have all season long. We have several top 25 matchups, a couple top 10 matches as well. So, absolutely loaded slate of games this afternoon. 9 total game picks today, 3 best player props. So we got to talk about these Friday games. First, Arizona State got them at plus 5.5 on Friday morning going in against Utah. Couple comments I saw said Cam Rising's playing. So that Cam Rising news dropped. What time would it have been? Probably around 3 p.m. maybe, somewhere around there. Just didn't catch it. It said all week that he's not going to be playing, but Cam Rising is in tonight. But I still have Arizona State. I'm so confident with Arizona State. Utah might not turn the ball over 3 or 4 times, but you never know. Cam Rising might be a little bit rusty. I do think Arizona State's good enough to win that game, so I have them. Dorian Singer over 57.5 receiving yards going up against Arizona State, and then Cam Scattaboo over 77.5 rushing yards going up against Utah. Here is the updated leaderboard from that JMU game. We went 1-2. Running back Petaway got it done. The over in that game was dreadful, 29-7 at the half, and then only 1 touchdown scored in the second. Touchdown and field goal maybe in the second half. Just a tough beat there. But we're going to move on to Saturday. We've got a ton of good games to look at. We are going to start with Penn State going up against USC. These are the first 4 plays of the day. These are what I call the graphic plays. These are your big boy games. These are the games that people are going to be up and watching on Saturday, and they're not necessarily my best plays of the day. I just feel like they're important to break down because I think they're the best matchups of the day. So I do want to be able to make sure that I get these games right. I want to pick them right, but the other matchups towards the end of the video are the ones that I'm really looking to make some money on. But we do have a lot of monster games this week. We're going to start with Penn State and USC. Every time that Penn State is in a very important game in the Big Ten, they crumble. They melt. They refuse to put up any points. They always rely on that defense, and they're going to be relying on that defense once again in the day. But the difference between the Penn State team this season and in the past Penn State teams is that the quarterback plays a lot better. That offense is overall a lot better than previous years. USC is coming off a really bad loss to Minnesota. I think Penn State's going to play some bully ball here. Welcome to the Big Ten, USC. You're going to get some Penn State bully ball. Minnesota took down USC last week. USC doesn't want to play between the tackles. This Nittany Lions team, they're going to run the ball 50 times right up the middle, dominate the line of scrimmage, and lean on that defense the entire game. I do think it's going to be low scoring. I love the quarterback for USC, Miller Moss. It's just not going to be his game today. Penn State defensively, they're really good. Give me the Nittany Lions here, minus 3.5 as the play there. For the next play today, we're going to be looking at the Red River rivalry. I had to go back and look at this matchup over the last 10 years because I felt like it's been one-sided over the last 10 seasons. And to my surprise, Oklahoma has been the dominating team. Texas, over the last 10 years, have 3 wins. And over the last 15 years, Oklahoma has 11 of the 15 wins in this matchup since 2010. Oklahoma last year took it in a thriller, winning that game 34-30. This time around, after all the Texas talk over the last several years of them being back, quote-unquote back, they're a competitive team this season. This is the year we can actually say they're back. This is a serious team. They're an absolute wagon this season. They're the best overall team in the country. They have one of the best offenses in the country this season. They have a really good defense behind them this season as well. And I think we're going to see the Longhorns dominate this game going up against this Oklahoma team, who I have mixed feelings about. This Oklahoma defense, they're one of the best in the country, but the offense, they struggle. We saw that against Auburn in their toughest test, I guess you can say, of the season besides that Tennessee game. They were incredibly lucky to get out of that game against Auburn with a win. They were down by double digits in the fourth quarter. I don't think this Oklahoma team is going to be able to keep up with Texas. I think Texas is going up against that really good defense. Will still find a way to put up a lot of points. Quinn Ewers is going to be back under center for Texas. They've got the Manning kid on the sideline just waiting for him to go down again. And both of these guys, they're incredible. Both these guys should be starting. They both have really good talent. Quarterback play is great. Quarterback play for Oklahoma, not so great this season. I do like the freshman they brought in last week, but it might have just been dynamic going up against Tennessee. I didn't like what I saw against Auburn. I also think the book is begging us to take Oklahoma. They're putting that hook in there, just looking at us at the bottom of the seed right now. It's got a big, juicy bet on it, 14.5. They couldn't just make it 14. They got to set that hook for us. Don't be the dumb fish. Don't get pulled to the top. Texas in a bloodbath here. They're going to cover the spread. Final score 38-13 in that one. Texas minus 14.5 is the play. For the next play, we're going to be looking at Ole Miss going up against LSU. Two teams that have been a little bit strange this season. Two teams are going to try to put up 30-plus points on each other, and I'm realizing that the points per game did not update. I think everything else looks okay. First half for Ole Miss can't be right either. So both these teams are scoring 30-plus points, so that graph is a little bit off. But Ole Miss, they're coming off a loss. They got absolutely bullied against Kentucky in the last game. It's going to be an extremely important game for both of these teams because the losers, they can say bye-bye to the playoffs. I'm going to take the home team here. LSU plus 3.5. They're going to find a way to get this done at home on their home field. They're going to win this game outright in a shootout. Neither one of these defenses this season are special. I do think being at home, that holds a little bit of an advantage for LSU. Mississippi with Lane Kiffin, they've been up and down over the last several years. You know what you're going to get with this team. They've got a really good offense. The defense has been shaky over the last couple of years. Jackson Dart, he's an incredible quarterback. I do think both these quarterbacks are going to be slinging the ball down the field against one another, but I think what's going to happen is late in the fourth quarter, Garrett Nussmeier, he's going to be the difference maker. 300-plus yards in this game for him. This is going to be his little Joe Burrow-like vintage-type game at LSU. Give this one to Garrett Nussmeier. Give this one to the Tigers. I'm taking them plus 3.5, but I think they win this game outright. And for the final graphic play today, we're going to be looking at Ohio State going up against Oregon. This is probably going to be the best game of the day. Neither one of these teams have really been tested this season. I think Oregon has played the best team between these two teams. That was Boise State, and I think that was the second game of the season. The toughest opponent that Ohio State has faced off against this year was against Iowa, and they're an absolute dumpster fire. They turned the ball over 4 times in the second half after playing Ohio State to a one-possession game in the first half. And the only real problem I have and why I'm not taking Ohio State is because the defense has been so good this season. I want to believe that they're good, but they haven't played anybody. I also hate Will Howard. I've said that many times. I've watched this kid at Kansas State for 4 seasons. Last week, he was not the reason Ohio State won that game. The defense last week was the reason they won that game, but he's going to be on national TV in this one. He's going to melt like butter. I don't know why Ohio State went out and got this guy. It's not like he's a superstar talent. He was just average at Kansas State. Last season with Kansas State, he wasn't even that good. He made a ton of mistakes. He's going to make a ton of mistakes in this game. Will Howard is going to cost Ohio State this game somehow, some way. Maybe he's changed. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm telling you what, if I'm going to stand on anything, I'm telling you Will Howard's not a good quarterback. I think Oregon defensively is going to find a way to get a couple stops late in the game. I think Oregon offensively, they're one of the best in the country as well behind Dylan Gabriel. Give me the Ducks here. Plus 3.5. They don't need the points. They're going to find a way to win this game at home as the play there. So like a lot of dogs today, let's go over to the player props before we get to the other matchups. We're going to start with Tennessee going up against Florida. Dylan Sampson of Tennessee to go over 101.5 rushing yards against Florida. This is year number 3 for Dylan Sampson. He took a big step forward last year, 106 carries, 604 yards on the ground. But this year, he's going to turn into a workhorse for Tennessee. We've already seen him have 91 touches, 587 yards on the ground with 12 touchdowns. I do think Tennessee needs to get more aggressive with Nico as their quarterback. I think he's one of the best arms in college football. They haven't been able to use him a ton this season. They're not throwing the ball down the field. I'm hoping that we see a little bit more of that in this game. They've got to find a way to get him in rhythm because they've got some big games coming up. They've got to be locked in, and that's going to be a very important thing. He's got to find some rhythm going up against these better teams like Alabama and Georgia coming up. Against Arkansas, they didn't throw the ball down the field a lot. They were just insisting on running the ball right up the middle of Dylan Sampson. If he's going to do it, I'm going to take him over his rushing yards. He's got a really good opportunity in this game because Florida is one of the worst in the country, giving up 200-plus rushing yards per game. Josh Hubbell seems to think that he can get the job done with his running back. Who am I to say that he can't do it? I'm going to take Sampson here. He's had over 100 rushing yards in 4 of the first 5 games, 138 yards last week against Arkansas, even though they lost. Give me Sampson here. Over 100-plus rushing yards, 101.5 as the play. For the next play, we're going to be looking at UMass going up against Missouri. UMass is a very bad team this season. I think they're transferring to the MAC. Actually, I know they're transferring to the MAC. I don't know if it's this season or next season. They have been playing a lot of MAC teams in football this year, but this is kind of a basketball school. They're not really I guess they're not really a basketball school either, but I do think they play basketball better than they play football. Missouri's coming off of that ass kicking that Texas A&M gave them last week, and Luther Burden was able to have a good game, but that was really off of one catch, a deep ball he caught for 50-plus yards. I think Missouri's going to come out pissed off. We should see Brady Cook and Luther Burden connect several times in this game going up against UMass. Nobody's going to be able to stop them in the secondary. This is relatively low, which tells me that I think that they think Missouri is going to be up big in this game. He might sit out the fourth quarter, but if I'm Missouri, I'm putting up 100 points in this game. You got to get in the good graces of this committee again. You lost big to Texas A&M. That can't happen. You got to put up a number here. Give me over 83.5 receiving yards. I think it's going to be a bloodbath for Missouri. And for the next play and the last play, we're going to take Tyler Show to go over 281.5 passing yards, the quarterback for Louisville. This Virginia team has been in a couple shootouts so far this season. The defense has been horrible for them, giving up over 300-plus passing yards per game. And Louisville has also been in a couple shootouts, including last week going up against SMU. They were the favorite by a touchdown, but we were on SMU money line and plus 6.5. They got the job done for us. I do think we're going to see Tyler and Louisville potentially take out a little bit of frustration on this Virginia team. I don't think they're very good defensively. I don't think Virginia is very good altogether as a squad. Louisville coming off a couple tough losses against Notre Dame and against SMU. They're all of a sudden, they've dropped back-to-back games here. They've got to find a way to get themselves back on the horse, get themselves back in the win column. They have scored 24-plus points in all 5 games this season, and Tyler's been a big reason for that. He's been big with the numbers this year. Last week against SMU, 329 yards for the air. He's gone for over 260 in 4 consecutive games. This is an easy match for him in the secondary. I'm going to take him to have another big day. Over 281.5 passing yards as the play there. And let's take a look at the other plays for Saturday. We got a ton of plays to look at. We're going to go fast here. Washington going up against Iowa as the first play. Once you get past the Hawkeyes first half, that defense, they're tired. They're worn out. They've got no energy left because they're usually on the field the entire game. Ohio State, the second half, they capitalized off the turnovers. And I'm not entirely sure if Caden McNamara is even going to play this game. He was so bad last week against Ohio State. He was horrible last week. If he is playing in this game, it's good for us. It's going to cause a lot of turnovers. But Washington's coming off a game where Michigan couldn't throw the ball down the field, and Washington really dominated that game. The score didn't show domination for Washington, but they made a lot of mistakes again, missing a couple field goals. This Washington team, they're a very good team. They could easily be undefeated. They've made a lot of mistakes early in the season, but I think everything's turned around now after that Michigan game. I'm going to take Washington here on the money line. I think they win this game outright. I'm going to take the plus 2.5, but I am going to bet the money line on a sprinkle as well. For the next play, Big 12 battle, Arizona going up against BYU. I'm going to talk about this game because this has the best team in the Big 12, BYU, currently playing, and I do think BYU is going to find a way to win this game. Take them minus 3.5. I don't like Arizona. This team is not good. They've made a lot of mistakes. The defense is not good, and BYU has been good on both sides of the ball this season. I'm not entirely sure how Arizona beat Utah last week, and I know how they did because Isaac Wilson was horrible. He had so many interceptions, so many turnovers. Utah couldn't get the ground game going, but Texas Tech almost beat Arizona last week. They're one of the worst teams in the Big 12. BYU's coming off a monster win. They proved it going up against Kansas State at home, beating the best team in the conference, in my opinion. Then they went against Baylor, dominated them as well. This should be an easy win for the Cougars. Minus 3.5 is the play there. And for the next play, Florida going up against Tennessee. Oh, boy. I'm taking Tennessee. Minus 14.5. I have no idea what Josh Hubbell was doing in the last game going up against Arkansas. It felt like it was a throwaway game for them. I'm still thinking that Nico's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but they just refuse to let him rip the ball down the field. And I know he's made a couple mistakes this season. He's a freshman. He's going to make a couple mistakes, but you got a special talent at quarterback. You got to find a way to let him rip the ball down the field a couple times. I also think Tennessee was not taking Arkansas very seriously because they thought they could sleepwalk through that game. Now they can't. Now they can't afford to sleepwalk through any of these games. They can't afford to lose anything. I think they have Alabama and Georgia coming up in the next 4 weeks. So this is going to be a game that they have to win. They can't lollygag around anymore. Florida, they're not a good team. I have no idea how Billy Napier still has a job. Tennessee's going to win this game in the first half. Minus 14.5 is the play. They're going to come out pissed off. They're not going to play in the fourth quarter. The starters aren't. So I'm going to take them minus 14.5 to get the job done here. For the next play, Vanderbilt going up against Kentucky. This might be the best play of the day for myself. Nobody loves Vanderbilt more than me. I've talked about them a ton this season. Every week I think I've talked about them. I've been with Diego Pavia since New Mexico State. Ever since he peed on the New Mexico logo in the rivalry matchup, he got in trouble for that. I love this kid. I love everything about him. Vanderbilt was able to take down Alabama. They just beat them. They absolutely beat them straight up. Nothing funny happened. Alabama had all their players. Vanderbilt had all their players. The refs didn't take anything away from any team. This was as clean as you can get. Vanderbilt beat Alabama straight up. No questions about it. They partied. They partied. They partied. They partied. They partied. They took the goalpost. They threw it in the river. This is a horrible spot to back Vanderbilt. Give me Kentucky minus 13.5. Kentucky's not going to take Vanderbilt lightly. After what we saw last week against Alabama, you have every single person in the country seeing Vanderbilt plus 13.5. You're going to have a ton of public money on that team. They just beat Alabama straight up. Now you're getting 13 points going up against a Kentucky team who's not a top-tier team this season. The offense has been bad for Kentucky, but this defense has been so dang good. If they stop Diego Pavia, they stop Vanderbilt. They were able to get some points on the board against Ohio. I know not a lot of people watch Ohio, but I think Ohio is one of the better teams in the MAC. They crushed them. Kentucky's not as bad as people think. Give me Kentucky here, minus 13.5. That's one of the better plays of the day for myself. For the final play, Kansas State going up against Colorado. Give me Colorado, plus 3.5 at home going up against K-State because Kansas State on the road is a completely different team. And I was a big-time Colorado hater at the beginning of the season. Worked out for me because we had Nebraska in that Colorado game. Didn't think Colorado was that good. But the one thing I will say about Colorado, even though I hate everything about them, feels like they've been too cocky this season for a mid-level team, the one thing I will say they've shown this season, they can win games in a couple different ways. They've had close games that they've won. they've had games that they've dominated. That game against UCF last week, that was a really good game for them. They're coming off a bye week as well. They're going to be well rested. They're going to be prepared. Give me them to beat Kansas State on their home field. I'm going to take Deion Sanders and this Colorado team plus 3.5 with the points, but don't be surprised if we see a potential upset in that game as well. So here are all the plays. We're going to be looking at Penn State minus 3.5, Texas minus 14.5, LSU plus 3.5, Oregon plus 3.5, Washington plus 2.5. Going to sprinkle the money line on that one for sure. BYU minus 3.5, Tennessee minus 14.5 against Florida, Kentucky minus 13.5. I'm going to stamp it as the best play of the day right there. I know it's weird. Public's going to be all over Vanderbilt. Colorado plus 3.5 as the last play. Dylan Sampson over 101.5 rushing yards against Florida. Luther Burden over 83.5 receiving yards against UMass. And then Tyler Show over 281.5 passing yards against Virginia. Tons of plays. Hope everybody enjoys their Saturday. That's going to do it for the video today. If you guys enjoyed the content, please sure drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.